Geographic, and this is the one rule of nature school never taught you. Bachan Geographic. This is another Geographic video. Yeah, last Geographic video I watched was insane. Not just insane; it was way too crazy. It was at the level that like nearly scarring. Let's just say it will stay in your memory forever. It was horrendous. It's like Geographic videos in general are like nightmare, right? But when you have something like even Geographic admits, oh, this is gonna be nightmare. You know you're gonna be screwed. So that's what that was like. One of the most dark thing I can see about animals. That was it, right? So I don't know what this is gonna be about, but I'm guessing it's gonna be not the same level, but something like that, right? General Geographic ammo, nightmare and shit. So one rule of nature school never taught you what that. Like don't wait around for shit, just run, right? Because this life is not fair, right? It's not gonna. Oh, I still remember like that one thing, right? I think about this a lot, right? People have this like general mentality because of the society we live in. Like if we are not wrong, we are gonna be fine, and I think that's problematic. That's a really problematic. People even when they get caught, right, for whatever reason, they're innocent. They're not gonna call for lawyer. Like I'm not guilty. I'm nothing gonna happen to me. Why would I call lawyer? And then they're gonna get screwed because the way system works is just like way too loose, right? It doesn't mean it's not necessarily that only guilty party would be charged. You might have enough evidence against you, even though you're not guilty, and you'll be charged guilty. So basically, like that, somebody just like somebody just getting angry and punching everyone. You say, "Oh, it wasn't me. I wasn't the part of the issue. He's not gonna punch me." You're close to the issue. You're gonna get punched. You need to run away. So I don't know. I'm guessing something like that would be here, but I don't know. Let's watch it. Remember, reflect my and before I subscribe, so I know which videos to react to more. Check out the Rick There's a link in the description. Yeah, this is I'm doing from my office. So obviously, it's not a studio. But yeah, most videos that I make will be from the normal studio way. I'm not in my home for past 2 3 days, and this is why. But yeah, this is gonna be very few videos gonna be like this. So let's watch it.
Hello.
I know this one.
She wants to come in, guys.
You have been consistently lied to your entire life, and the biggest source of some of the most unprovoked lies is school. School really told us that this dude in '92 discovered America, that quicksand and giant Venus flytraps were way more of an issue than they ended up being, that writing in cursive was the only way you'd ever be taken seriously, and my personal
Okay, you know what about the Columbus thing? I get it. I get the backlash, but he kind of discovered it, right? I get it. Like people before that, like Viking discovered it, and there was like always an asterisk on top of everything. But it for the moment's sake, the way things are going, he kind of did discover it, right? He's like the one. All the colonization of America basically started because of him. So he's like let's say somebody tells you to spell out cat, right? cat, right? And you basically spell out with something like XEB or something like that, zeb rather than cat. That's a wrong, right? That teacher will mark that as a wrong. But if somebody like say cat, so KAT, that will also be marked as wrong, but one is more wrong the other, right? So the point is like, okay, but for this context, he kind of did discover it, right? So I guess there's like more nuance to it than just basically, oh, this is where all the news and manipulation starts with, right? People don't trust news because of something like this. They don't talk about nuance, but they just weaponize the whatever fact out of any context they can use. That's where it all starts.
favorite, whenever a teacher would say, "This won't slide in college." Whole time, your calculus professor at 5 p.m. can end up your beer pong partner by 11. But there's
Yeah.
one mistruth that insists on being spread, and before we get to that, story time. So back in the 70s, ornithologists noticed something pretty disturbing, even for them. Fola is a remote island over 200 miles off Scotland, and for generations, migratory birds, specifically Arctic terns and one of the ops of happy feet, the skua, use it as nesting grounds to raise their chicks. And a group of ornithologists noticed a gruesome trend of chicks with pretty graphic injuries. Some chicks looked like they had a leg or two ripped off. For others,
Oh.
the same but with their wings. Some chicks even had their heads divorced from their body, for sure irreconcilable. And while some of the chicks somehow survived being mutilated, scientists had no idea what was causing this sudden rise in amputees. At first they guessed otters or even hedgehogs, but it turned out to be neither. You wanna know what it was? I promise you'll never guess it. I'll even give you a chance to try. Comment what you think. I bet you're wrong. The answer?
Parrots?
Sheep. Yeah, sheep. Scientists observed grazing sheep.
Yeah, I thought it was going some dark way that their own parents are basically doing this because they're fucked up or something. I don't know. That's how usually whenever we talk about animal kingdom, most of the human nature, even though some human nature can be seen, but some of them really not, right? Like, oh, look at that, it's like own mother is doing all this shit for whatever reason. That's how Animal Kingdom goes sometimes.
Sheep stumble across a defenseless chicken without a second thought or really even much of a prequel, grab them, and eat them. Sometimes the sheep would snap off a leg for a premature drumstick. Other times they might grab one by the head and initiate a permanent separation, swallowing skull and all whole. From 1973 to 1980, nearly 700 baby birds have been victimized by the business end of a carnivorous Q-tip. In the grand scheme of things, that's only a dent in the thousands of birds born in that time. But then again, nobody expected sheep to be involved in foul play. And
Yeah.
that goes back to those lies I told you about. So in science class, we were taught this rule: herbivores eat plants, carnivores eat meat, and those with culinary commitment issues are called omnivores. And for a lot of us, that's where it ended, but of course, nature's more complicated than that. It's like a spectrum, and on one end you have obligate herbivores, as in they're obligated to eat
Yes.
just plants or starve to death. Here you got animals like koalas, sloths, and the dead-eyed plush toy, the bear cuscus. Then you have the same concept but obligate carnivores, like cats, of every kind. And smack in the middle are your omnivores. But there's also facultatives, and basically that means most of the time you'll find them at one end, but every once in a while they'll borrow a meal plan from the other side. Polar bears are hypercarnivores, with most of their calories coming from seals, but rarely they'll switch it up to berries, seaweed, moss, and even straight up grass, which makes them facultative carnivores and not an obligate like a lion. And since we're already on bears, pandas are a good example of facultative herbivores. I promise it's gonna get less complicated, but the yin yang yogi's defining personality trait is being a bamboo merchant. But every once in a while, they surprise us, like when this panda was caught in 4K eating a past tense wildebeest, or when the DreamWorks jockey chased, caught, murked, and ate a peacock. They've also been known to hunt pikas, that's a pika. So even though most of what goes down its gullet is bamboo, protein in the form of meat is never really off the table, which makes them facultative herbivores. And they're not the only ones, almost the opposite. Almost every herbivore.
Yeah, okay, I understand. First of all, especially with the sheep thing, that's like one of the sheep are like one of the, oh, isn't that cute type of animals? Even kids are like basically in the rhymes and jingles that talk about it, right? Knowing the sheep can be like that fucked up and basically just eating a skull whole of a whatever bird is the one thing you don't think about, right? That kind of makes sense when you really think about it. Like this, designated this is the type of animal, and that's it. It's like very simplistic. We are like nature is much more complex than that. So the way he says, like, the someone like facultative herbivore, whatever he's saying, like most time it will eat just like bamboos or vegetarian things, but sometimes, yeah, when the need arises, it will basically, it's like survival element, right? For whatever biome and whatever place they are, it depends on how things are. It can turn ugly easily.
You can think of is actually facultative, even the ones you wouldn't expect. That's how the Good Vibes vegan aqua blimp has also been known to snag fish from nets for themselves. Then you got the normally vegetarian shell jockey the tortoise, turning a rabbit carcass into a cookout.
Oh.
They've also been known to plot on and consume unlucky birds. To be fair, if you can literally fly but get taken off the census by a mobile boulder, that's more about you than him. There was even that time India released 25,000 flesh-eating turtles to deal with the whole corpse population problem in the Ganges. It didn't work, by the way. But by
Yeah.
far, the biggest culprit of covert carnivory are deer. The same deer that's usually the poster boy for the middle child
Deer?
in the food chain will occasionally get calories from something like a
Ooh.
past tense bunny. A couple
Deer?
years ago, researchers wanted to see just what
Deer's like, I don't know, like cows in the basically image wise, like it's just gonna eat grass and shit, right? Deer doing this is like, okay. It's like when somebody like, okay, grass, what vegetation fed animal type of thing, what herbivores, they will put something like deer on the as a poster, like, oh, there you go, like Hall of Fame first ballot basically thing. This is insane. Even that just makes me think like, okay, I guess it depends on the situation. Things can change instantly. I guess it is like a survival thing, isn't it? One thing common with all the species on the planet, most of it, that it's survival of the fittest. Anything like when it comes to survival, they'll do anything.
happens to the human body after the soul evacuates, and basically set up these body farms to see how they decompose. As you can probably guess, photos would go viral featuring deer chewing on human bones.
Oh shit, I got caught.
Scavenging through the man-made remains like vultures. In 2015, researchers in North Dakota set up nest cams for a 24-hour live stream of the hatchlings, and not only did the footage catch deer enjoying an extremely late-term omelet, the cervix actually outdid the foxes and weasels in that area, i.e. the ones you'd expect that from. And it wasn't just them being opportunity merchants, some of those deer went out of their way to get to them. And in Canada, scientists were looking to study different species of birds and so trapped them using mist nets, only for the unhinged ruminants to stroll in and eat the trapped and struggling birds alive, right
I mean, once you eat meat, you can go back to grass. So of course, like, oh, look at that desert.
right out of the nets. Growing up is realizing Bambi would have 100% turned on Thumper if times got tough. It's now
Yeah.
believed that a nutrient deficiency and a food shortage is really all it takes for an animal to go from herbivore to
I mean,
frugivore. Because one
what
thing
else they
about
gonna do?
animals,
Die?
they don't care. A deer not finna pass down a chance for easy protein just because a textbook says they shouldn't. The twist is,
Yeah.
almost every herbivore on Earth is facultative, meaning they'll take a page out of a predator's playbook if circumstances call for it. That's how you get normally docile horses treating baby birds like popcorn chicken, or that time cows in Australia were caught slurping pythons like fruit roll-ups, all because they were apparently female out of a predator's
Back
playbook
up.
if
What the
circumstances
fuck?
call for it. That's how you get normally docile horses
Oh!
treating baby birds like popcorn chicken, or that time cows in Australia were
Oh!
caught slurping pythons like fruit roll.
Oh! Imagine that chicken's whole thing, like trying to defend the kids, and just like horses, just like, oh, it's a popcorn. What the fuck? That shit is insane. And whoever's like filming them, they don't care, right? Yeah.
Roll-ups, all because they were apparently fiending for phosphorus. Even giraffes, yeah, they're not safe either. The verticality merchants of the motherland will often feed off the bones of other animals. Not really swallowing them, but more like licking and sucking on it, pause, so their saliva can leach off nutrients like calcium and phosphorus. There have also been cases of the camel leopard cosplaying antelope snatching up birds to feed on their misfortune. So far, we've learned 3 things. 1, most herbivores are about as vegetarian as their options. 2, baby birds are really the Kit Kat bars of nature. And 3, now you see why Marty did everything in his power to get up out of there. His entire friend group would have had his hide if it got to that point. Which of course brings us to hippos, and this is where things get
Oh my god.
complicated. At this point, it probably surprises exactly
Power
none of you
jaws.
that the 4-legged assassination cetacean can have a hankering for flesh. Hippos have
mean-
been seen eating carcasses and even resorting to cannibalism.
I mean, if you're that big, your jaws are that strong. I mean, it's just like nature wants you to do it at this point, right?
It's complicated because for a while we thought it was the same deal as before, just animals switching it up when their primary food source is compromised, which would make hippos facultative herbivores, there's that word again. Except, more and more scientists are coming to the conclusion that hippos eating meat aren't just scavenging or being opportunists, it's just hippos hippoing, as in hippos
Yeah.
will put themselves in a position to catch a body and subsequently feed on it. There have been reports of hippos murking livestock and seemingly predatory assaults, and some even believe hippos will purposely park themselves in a river migrating animals have no choice but to cross, just so they can turn the casualties into calories. Sometimes that involves punking crocodiles out of food. And of course, you already know, hippos are not above feeding off friendly fire. All this means hippos might not even be herbivores at all, but identify closer to the omnivore side of the spectrum. And that's why it's complicated, because now you're
Makes
probably
sense, man.
asking, what's the difference between a facultative herbivore and a straight up omnivore? And there's an answer. I just really couldn't tell you. Like, you could say facultatives eat mostly plants but can resort to meat as a fallback, where omnivores can normally go either way, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't just make that up on the spot. The moral of the story? It's way
I feel like it's mostly based on the situation, like I said, biome or whatever, where they are, right? How easy is some food coming from? Like, I guess that's where this like distinction comes from. Or they mostly eat just vegetation. Sometimes, if they need it, they'll eat like animal or something. But maybe they have more vegetation there than any animals to hunt, right? So that's what it is. I'm guessing there must be some animals that have like like this kind of like a choice type of thing, like even if they're like animals that if I want enough vegetation I'll eat it. And I feel like that makes more sense because hunting is not a joke, right? If all the cats could basically chow down on some vegetation and get the enough protein to survive, like how muscular tiger and shit, right? Maybe they would have done it because it's much easier, right? Vegetation is easier, hunting is really hard. The carnivores hunt because they have to. What else are they going to do, right? I mean, it's insane. Even like humans, right? I'm a vegetarian, but I constantly chow down on fucking protein powder just to have enough muscle. So I think it's mostly based on situation.
more complex than just putting labels on things and calling it a day. For example, this. That is a common diker, and it's an antelope less than 2 feet tall found in sub-Saharan Africa.
Look at that shit.
And I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the only antelope that regularly eats meat. Along with the shrubs and
Ooh.
grasses you'd expect.
Doesn't look like it,
the
does
plan
it?
for this antelope undertaker often involves combing through corpses. Along
Oh.
with lizards, frogs, small rodents, and, you guessed
I
it,
mean-
baby birds. And because a
I
good
mean, go
percentage
on.
of their diet requires other animals to die with the T silent, I'd call the diker an omnivore.
Oh, come on. I mean, come on. Look at it. Look at it. If it starts to hunt something, people just basically other animals will just laugh. If it starts to hunt something, others just laugh it off. Like, get out of here. What you talking about? So it has to basically go corpse hunting at this point.
But then, you got this. the tree-loving, pretty privileged acorn hoarders of the rodent world. Many will tell you that with a grocery list of mostly plants, fruits, nuts, and seeds, the squirrel is mostly herbivorous. But squirrels are also infamous for raiding birds' nests and turning preemie poultry into protein. And yeah, they do this a lot. On occasion, you'll see squirrels pack up chickens and snakes. There was even a story of a pack of Russian squirrels ganging up on a stray dog and eviscerating the canine alive, each scurrying off with their share of flesh. Yeah, not so cute now. They're not the only rodents that go rogue either. Normally, grass-eating prairie dogs have been known to savage baby ground squirrels and on rare occasions even eat the remains. In case you're curious, they do this by shaking the baby violently until their existence gets revoked. That's not even my worst rodent fact in the chamber. In 1995, a 43-year-old woman was found deceased in her flat with facial lesions and lacerations, and the fact that she was naked from the waist down, first responders thought it was a special victims unit kind of crime. Except it was later determined that she had expired to pneumonia. The desecration of her corpse was caused by her pet golden hamster. Not only did the pet feed on her vacated vessel, law enforcement would find the hamster's makeshift burrow containing human skin, flesh, and muscle tissue. But that shouldn't even really be a surprise since hamsters are known cannibals, but what you
See, this is the one thing I'm like, okay, you can have dogs, you can have cats. I understand about pets, but if you have pets that are like unique, they're not normally pets, and you have them, then when you hear about stories like this, after it died, this pet just ate it. Like, okay, first people will be like, oh, she was dead. What is pet supposed to do? Die? I get it, right? But in the end, I mean, come on, this is just insane, right? All these pets, some of the like, all animals, just because they are not deadly to you doesn't mean they can be a pet. Dogs are smart, cats are smart as well, so you can have pets. All the dogs and cats video on YouTube, you would see like, okay, there's some kind of connection, but not all pets can have connection with you, man. At this point, it's like, maybe also like, if it works, it works. What does it matter? But I don't know, man. Dogs, cats, and things like that make sense. Like this kind of a weird like gerbils and shit, I don't know.
might not know is that sometimes it can be caused by corn. Researchers at the University of Strasbourg found this out by accident when they tried to figure out why the female hamsters under their care kept dominating their own children. Through some likely traumatizing trial and error, they figured out that just a corn diet was even the hamsters missing crucial vitamins, specifically B3. They figured that out because once they added B3 back into their diets, the mother hamsters suddenly remembered how to mother. And the crazy part is, that can happen to people. Vitamin B3 deficiency can lead to pellagra, a disease associated with diarrhea, dermatitis, dementia, and eventually dying. So in a weird twist, an unbalanced diet can really lead to
What vitamins deficiency can kill you? There's a reason why it's called vital minerals. Okay, vitamin B3, I take it a lot because it's associated with energy, right? If you feel like you're constantly down in energy, basically take vitamin B3, or just complex form of it like niacinamide and things like that, a large doses. I mean, obviously talk to a doctor first, I don't know, but yeah, that B3 is like really important, especially for energy building, right? I mean, even if you eat every time, but you're still like, oh god, I can't do anything. You just sit down. It's probably B3 issue. Obviously, other as well, B6, B12, like some complex issue, but B3 is like mostly energy related. That's why lots of pre-workout will have niacin in it, basically B3.
spawn-wrecking rodents, and they're not the only known cannibals in nature. Chimpanzees are a great
Oh
example
my god, I don't like
of
that.
animals
Go
great
away.
care.
Ah,
Chimps have been known to
that
delight
face
their
is killing
rivals
me.
and devour the body. Now, to us, it's horrific and it makes chimps the spawn of Satan. To a chimp with no legal system or a sense of morality, just a will to live, it's common sense, murking your
Yeah.
rival to protect your food supply and not letting
Yep.
easy protein go to waste. And before you judge, early humans reportedly made the brains of terminated children a somewhat regular part of their diets. But I think people forget chimps aren't just violent pseudo-vegans, they're legit predators. As in, they'll work together in coordinated attacks on prey like colobus monkeys.
I mean,
which,
chimps, come
you
on.
know, isn't all that different from getting disemboweled by a pack of
Yeah, chimps is like your girlfriend or some shit, right? It won't just kill you, but psychologically fuck you up. So basically, this is chimps are one of the most like fucked up thing I'll encounter. Basically, after watching all this video, just like fuck that. If I see chimp in the wilderness, like I'd rather have tiger. At least it will just kill me rather than give me trauma. Okay, so oh, yeah, chimps are like chimps are so like human way in a way that sometimes it just makes me think like somebody just like rolls into some kind of like a jungle or something where chimps are. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the chimps say, "You're not in America, boy. You're in our ground now. No laws."
Olympic level parkour zombies. They've also been known to hunt bush babies, that's a bush baby, by using spears. But with all the chimp carnage on this channel, them having carnivore tendencies should really be no surprise. The plot twist is, even the pacifists of the great apes can be on predatory timing. Most people, including me about 2 weeks ago, see orangutans as a good vibes hippie vegetarians of the primate world. Which is almost true. Ginger apes eat mostly the stuff you'd expect, fruits, figs, leaves, maybe some termites to go with bird eggs. But then you got this, an orangutan tearing apart a slow loris. The same one known for being venomous, which orangs figured out how to neutralize by using the loris's natural weakness, blunt force trauma in the form of a bite through the skull. Now, to be fair, a
Oh,
meat-eating man of the forest is remarkably rare. But then again, chances are, before this video, a good number of y'all probably thought orangutans were only a threat to pieces of fruit. The same
yeah.
way a lot of people feel about toucans. Well, this roided up
This is a
woodpecker,
weird ass
which
bird,
is
isn't it?
actually
Look
what
at that.
toucans are, the more you know, has also been known to put bats on permanent leave from life. Yeah, that's the part Fruit Loops commercials ain't show you. They're also one of the many animals on the list of population
Ooh.
control for baby birds. Oh, you thought that was a
Oh.
mammal thing? Well, toucan play that game. Yo, who wrote this? I did. I wrote it. I'm sorry. But birds in
Okay.
general will eat virtually anything that doesn't pack them up in the process. Seagulls have been seen scarfing down squirrels with zero remorse. And I'm pretty sure there's
Damn,
at least one
man.
person in the world down a dog thanks to this flying antichrist. But the biggest example of feathery f***ery is what happens on Malgus Island. This is where we go full circle. This
Okay, seriously, man. Those big ass fucking beaks like might as well be swords at this point. Like it always makes me think like why do they? I'm pretty sure Tears probably talking about something. Well, what is a Pojo or whatever that thing is with the big fucking jaw and things, right? They use in Flintstone as toilets or something, which is like ugh. But okay, that shit is really insane. Like, why does he have that big of a mouth? Like, what is supposed to catch there? Damn.
island off the coast of South Africa is a nursery for the thousands of Cape gannets nesting here. Which would probably be a good idea if someone ain't snitched to the pelicans, because a population of white pelicans started traveling to Malgus
What?
just so they can swallow gannets
Stupid battery.
often right in front of their parents. And if one was unlucky enough to have both parents out at sea, that's just an easy lick for this attack on Titan pterosaur. It gets worse when you realize the half-digested, fully molested baby birds often end up being regurgitated for the pelican
Oh,
progeny.
that's
And you thought they just
oh.
ate fish. Predators come
Imagine that shit, right? It's like if one of the animals' kids basically got eaten like that. That animals come across like not just like a cause of digested cause, like oh, that's the worst. I don't know, that's just fucking worst. That is just insane. It's like you did this and didn't even digest it right. That's just completely fucked up.
in many forms, and one island in the Pacific is home to one of the most unlikely. Because if you bleed on the wrong island, you can attract a pack of coconut crabs. Not only is this satanic manifestation in the form of crustacean attracted to blood, they're more than enthusiastic scavengers. In a study done on Nikomoraru Island, it took the homicidal hermit crabs a week to completely undress a pig carcass down to the bones. But with pinchers strong enough to humble a coconut, the
I
killer
don't like
crabs are
this.
more than capable of catching their own prey,
Oh.
especially when they can climb trees and ambush sleeping birds. This video was taken of a crab after it had snapped the hollow bones of a seabird. The part you don't see
Oh
is where a
no,
group of
no,
crabs arrived at the injured and
nope,
incapacitated avian
nope,
and proceeded to tear the bird apart. They've also
nope.
been known to make a meal out of rats, cats, and maybe even humans. Because a grisly theory on the disappearance of Amelia Earhart was that a cluster of crabs got to her before anyone else.
Really? Oh my god. I mean, that's like the theory right now. I'm guessing, right? Like, I'm not complete proof, but still, this is fucked up. These crabs. I'm pretty sure these are the one like they portrayed in Fallout 4's DLC, right? New Car World or whatever that is with the fucking that mutated thing with a big ass claw that hide inside some car or something. That's just so fucked up, man. I I always found those things creepy with those weird claws type of thing. What makes me think like all those arachnophobia people with the spiders, this like looks close to the spider with the legs and things. Do they panic when they see this as well, or just only related to spiders?
Could. And the worst part, there's no guarantee she was relieved from life by the time they got to her. Because even though Mr. Krabs on creatine normally goes for fruit, just like most animals on Earth, they're only as vegetarian as their options.
Yeah.
Hug your loved ones, stay safe out there,
That's
and I'll
it.
see y'all in the next one. Oh, speaking of which, my eye's fine. I got LASIK, so I look like I lost the fight, but I also got the gift of sight, so it's alright. Alright.
Okay. He has balls to take LASIK. I'm a scientific guy who think like I don't know, man. There's a very small chance so you could go blind. Very small, insanely small. There's a higher chance you might be in accident in road or basically, but still, that just panics me. What if like I'm the small chance I'm just blind, right? And any disability you don't think about it, but it's like really fucked up strong thing, right? Like if you can't see, that's a big issue, right? So I can't even think of all the people who live in the world without eyesights. and how fucked up their life must be, like just normally even walking, going. That's just horrible when you think about it. But yeah, it just panics me. Well, that was the one rule of nature school never taught you. Yeah, like like there's gray area is the one thing people really need to think about. Like, how can something be on a spectrum and gray rather than just it's either this or that? There's a one thing school teaches you, like it's either this and that. Maybe there's a reason behind it. Like you can go into detail about things, otherwise people will just be overloaded or something. But this is the one general trend I'm seeing. It also happens with the science. Obviously, it happens like at the point like people will tell you like, okay, Earth is not round; it's like more like a pear shaped. When you really see it, it's like barely some degree of pear shape, so it might as well be round because it's going to be rounder than most round objects you'll see in your life. But still, it's not technically round, so just like I don't know. There's a way of telling people something, and I guess there's a reason why people don't talk about gray areas and spectrum in school like that. But I guess this should talk about more, even in life in general. That would be helpful. It's not either this or that. There's like more nuance to it. Right. Well, if you like my next phone, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.